Hello, everyone. This is Father Michael Tischel.
And this is Stratis Papageorgiou.
And we are an
Imperfect
Podcast.
Oh, I just heard another voice.
Oh my goodness.
Cue music. Am I hearing voices?
Nice.
You might be.
We have a very special guest with us today. His name is Bojan Teodosievich.
Close enough, Teodosievich.
Teodosievich.
Hey, you get points for trying.
Oh, man, I hope so. I really do, because otherwise I'd be a lost soul in general.
Yes, that is the sole criterion of salvation, pronouncing of my last name. That is why few are saved.
That's close. That's close to some former heresies, right? The Eunomians.
Yeah, true.
Know was the name unbegotten, and you're good to go. Anyway, well, welcome, Bojan. Welcome.
Thank you for having me for the first time.
Yes, and we are spanning two continents here. Both Strati and Bojan are in Serbia, and I'm still stuck here in America.
Well, there are different layers to hell, so
this is true. I'm in the coldest layer to reference Dante. I guess I'm in the last one.
I know that I won't end up in the last fall, but because there are tornadoes in that layer, and Lord knows that I would enjoy tornadoes too much for me to go there. So
Wow.
I could go anywhere else, but I would be like storm chasing them all the time.
Right, you'd be in that cool truck.
Yeah.
Yep. Nice. Well,
nice.
How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. Not too bad. It's snowing.
It's snowing.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, so you guys are in the last layer there.
In the
It's 70 degrees. It's 70 degrees Fahrenheit here, so it's.
Is that warm? I don't know.
It's very warm. It's
Perfect.
like
Okay.
it's probably like
Perfect
30 something or something like that.
It's
Celsius.
perfect weather, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice. At least somebody has it, because here it seems that the weather changes depending on the measures. Like if they open up cafes, the weather will outdoor cafes, weather will be horrific. The split second they close it, it's sunny, it's warm, it's perfect.
That's funny.
It's very strange.
Yeah, it's just not how it should be, I guess. But so Bojan, I feel like I know a lot about you and the work that you do, as far as your wonderful work on the Bible Illustrated project and your YouTube channel. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe something that we don't know, or something that's less about you and more who you are, to be cheesy and warm and fuzzy?
Well, okay. Whenever I drink coffee, I grab the mug on the opposite side of the handle. Why is it so? Nobody knows.
Are you left-handed?
Yes.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I messed up.
I'm also left-handed. So.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Strati, you can leave the conversation. This is not for you.
Yep.
This is not for your eyes.
That's it. He's gone. He just left.
That was easy. Should have done this a minute ago. So, I'm a guy. I live in Serbia. I'm 34 years old. I have to recount. I'm slowly entering that age when I don't know on the spot how old I am.
I'm in the same boat. I'm also 34. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Strati, you can leave now.
When's your birthday?
10th of November.
Okay.
I'm a Scorpio. You?
I'm a Virgo.
Me too, actually.
Oh.
You're a Virgo Scorpio?
No, I'm just a Scorpio.
Whenever somebody asks me what's your sign, I say Saint Athanasius of Strem, because I was born on his feast day. So.
Oh, okay, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. And when I was in Patriarchate of Pech, I saw his sarcophagus and I saw his icon, and somebody said, that is his resting place. And they like started, kissing the reliquary of my birthday saint. And somebody says, no, it's just his place. The relics are elsewhere. And I'm like, this is such a troll.
Seriously.
Yeah.
As if the place isn't sanctified by.
I mean, it totally is, but still, I had hoped that his relics would actually be there.
That's funny. Well, your dad, Strati, has a pretty amazing story about a healing as a child at the tomb of Lazarus, whose relics are not.
The tomb of Saint Spiridon.
Spiridon, that's right. And his relics are in Corfu.
But his relics are in Corfu.
I know.
His tomb is in Cyprus,
right.
where he was born.
That's what I'm saying. So he had a healing at the tomb, at the empty tomb.
He had a terrible earache, and he put it against it, and he said he heard chanting, like Byzantine music. And he had his mom check, and she couldn't hear anything, and his earache went away.
Okay, this is extraordinarily creepy and awesome, because I like to say that I'm one of Saint Spiridon's greatest fans, because I associate the beginning of my church days with him, because I attended my first liturgy the day after I venerated his relics. And I have had a bit of a miracle. It's a small one, but I mean, not as majestic as what Strati has just said, but I'm gonna share anyway, because we have an hour to spare. So I've been to Corfu, I think 3 times by now, maybe even 4. I forget. But anyway, as always, I went to the capital. I venerated his relics, and I started going to the bus station. And as I was there, my spiritual father sent me a message, and he said, like, pray urgently. And then he shared with me some horrible event that was going on at the time. So, and I'm like, do you want me to pray by the relics of Saint Spiridon? Yes, go. So I, yes, and they go. I get to the church, and if any of you has been, the church has a small grotto next to the iconostasis, where the huge silver reliquary is kept. And as I entered the church, I think they were finishing the Vespers or Vigil. I can't remember which day it was. And the line was already dwindling for them to venerate the relics. So I stood in the line again. And as I'm literally like the last person in line. And I get to the reliquary, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I need to do this well. And as I'm about to get to the relics, 4 monks come, and I have the thought, oh no, they're going to close the church now. No, not now. And then suddenly they enter the grotto, they open the reliquary, and then like, please come pray. And I'm like, oh, this is I can't even. He's like the catch-all miracle saint, and thank God that that event that I discussed, I can't of course disclose what it was, but over time it resolved itself perfectly. So thank you, Saint Spiridon.
I have a question.
Sure.
We just you just mentioned when you first started going to church.
Yes.
So you were baptized as a child, I assume.
Yes.
And so when exactly did you decide you wanted to take this more seriously? And well, how old were you is what I'm getting at.
Okay. It was a sort of a layered process. When I was a kid, my mom wanted to get us all baptized because it is sort of a modern custom at the time, for everyone to get baptized. But ever since I was a kid, I was interested in religion. And there's a story from Bosnia. I had an granny aunt there, great aunt. I don't know what's called in English exactly. And she had this beautiful mosque right across her house. So when I was like, I don't know, 2 or 3 or maybe 4, I don't know, I kept begging her, Granny, take me to church, take me to church. And she's like, okay, fine. And she finds the woman who had the key to the mosque. And they unlocked the mosque. And I immediately from the door, I went and ran up to those stairs. I don't know what it's called, but it's like that sermon pulpit. Right. And I ran. And she's like, no. And the woman, oh, leave him. He's a kid. So, but there was always this interest. But what kicked it off was me reading this children's Bible when I was around 8 or 9, because I like to read. And this is a book that my mom bought me again when I was really small, and she thought that she would read this to me. Never happened. And she was never really even all that religious, but she thought that it would be something that would be interesting. And they found it, and I remember that I knew enough about religion. I was reading about the crucifixion, and I was crying and crying. But I had this thought like, come on, you know what happens. I mean, it's not... So at least at 9, I knew enough about religion that Christ was crucified and that he arose from the dead. And I thought...
I'm sorry, I can't...
Feel free.
Leave that little comment alone, because I think that was a very interesting moment. Maybe I'm reading into it too much, but that the whole idea that you were moved by the crucifixion, your heart was moved by the crucifixion, but then your mind said, but you know what happens later, right? Yeah. It's like there's something significant about the fact that retrospectively we understand the completion and the fulfillment of it, but yet somehow each frame of the story, you could say, has its own sort of moment that you enter into. And
true.
Maybe I'm reading into that your particular story too much.
No, I think you're completely correct. I mean, I thought, I don't know. I do not know just how aware the Most Holy Theotokos was of how things will develop from that vantage point. I do not know. But if she knew about the resurrection beforehand, I thought it was something that she experienced something similar, except in a much more clean and sinless basis. Because, again, but still your heart is simply torn apart. As I was growing older, we had a celebration of Saint Sava, who is the first Archbishop of Serbia, and that is generally considered he's considered the patron saint of Serbian schools and education. Kids generally don't go to school that day. They have these pageants where they recite songs or play or have plays based on the lives of Saint Sava.
We had the same thing in Cyprus for the 3 hierarchs.
Yeah. So it is a similar thing. And thank God they were giving out these catechisms written by Saint Nikolai of Žiča and Ohrid. And this is a great little catechism, questions, answers, perfect for my age. I think I was like, I don't know, 14, 15, 16. So then I sort of clarified everything about the Christian faith, at least, I mean, as much as you can fit it into a little handbook. Then the internet came, so I started attending internet forums, and finally, when I went to Corfu when I was 17, I believe, I venerated the relics of Saint Spirit, and I was like, you know what? This is the time. I will go to the liturgy. I know that it is important. I know what happens, but I never actually went. Yeah, and I have to share that story. That story because I think it's also interesting. It was sort of prophetic. I asked this woman when's the liturgy, and for example, she said, for example, 9 a.m. But I misheard, and they came an hour earlier. So I come, and the priest is a boy waiting for, I don't know, liturgy. And he asked me like in his weak English, like, you helped me, yes? And like, okay, sure. And I thought I would help with cleaning or something. No.
I'm sorry, where this was in Greece?
Yes, what's the name of the place? Actually, I'm going to open up the map of Corfu so I can Google it.
Yeah.
Cassiope. It's Cassiope. They have a church dedicated, I think, to the Most Holy Theotokos of Cassiope. It is this sort of darkened wonder-working icon of the Most Holy Theotokos. And what's interesting in this church, and I think it is a case with a number of churches there, is that the Orthodox Church also has a Catholic altar. Because when the church, when the Corfu was
occupied, right?
Yeah, by Venetians, if I recall correctly, and a couple or a number of churches had those side Catholic altars for masses, and right now it is simply used as a shelf, because are those like shelf-like altars. There's probably more, proper term to it, but. For me, it's a shelf.
It's in the wall itself. You mean like
yeah.
Kind of a niche that.
Yeah. So I come there, and he invites me behind the iconostasis, and like, oh God, no. So I entered there, and he shows this cloth.
This is your first liturgy.
First liturgy.
You go straight into the altar.
Yeah, and. I mean, I was like small, but still enough to get that anxiety.
It's reminiscent of your visit to the mosque where you went straight up to the,
Actually, I never connected that.
We have that in Cyprus, actually.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's the Amvon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he shoves that cloth into my face and like, and I kiss it, and he's like, yes. He unfolds it, and it's a sticharion. And he puts it on me, and he sits me against the iconostasis from the inside, and like, oh God, this is the nightmare scenario. Like, whenever people like go to First Orthodox service or liturgy, they're sort of anxious. Oh, somebody will ask me to do something, and I won't know what to do. This was the thing, the ultimate. Like, so I'm sitting there completely petrified, and this priest enters the altar as well, and the priest looks at him, the main priest, and that priest says, Serbos, and they jump. Father, help me, I don't know what to do. Relax. Have you ever helped at the liturgy? I never was at the liturgy. Okay. So yeah, thankfully, I mean, my whole purpose was to follow the gospel and the gifts with a candle, which I failed semi miserably. But people sort of understood, so they were tugging me by the hem of the sticharion where to go. And finally, the communion time came, and the Serbian priest, and now it's your time to take communion. But I didn't have my confession ever. Yeah, but did you fast on Wednesday and Friday? No. Well, okay. So I didn't take communion then. And then finally, he showed me how to fold the sticharion. And as I was thinking, by the way, next time, wear long pants to the church.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, I was wearing these like short pants. They were nice enough, but still not nice enough for church, but so yeah. And like some 22,
You were
12 years later, I'm a reader.
What you're saying is you were a noob.
Yeah, I was the ultimate noob. Yeah, I always made up. Whenever I went to Corfu, I always went to Cassiope. Like for me, it is a little pilgrimage. Like this is the church where I went to my first liturgy.
Yeah, that's nice. A big deal. Well, why didn't you go when you were in Serbia? What was what was holding you back?
I think it was a simple case of like, anxiety again. Somebody will ask me, or for whatever reason, it's probably one of those things that you keep putting off forever and ever. Like for example, me cleaning the house of my computer or something. But that was the first time I went, and I started attending my parish church immediately as soon as I got back home.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about how you sort of developed this interest in illustrating almost, if not the entire Bible at this point.
The entire Bible, including the 151st Psalm.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The forgotten Psalm.
The forgotten Psalm.
So
what led you to that endeavor, or that desire, I guess, even before the endeavor itself?
In 2009, I believe, the patriarch of the Serbian patriarch Paul died, and his function until the next patriarch was elected was taken by Metropolitan Amphilochius, who has died recently, and both of these men are saints, true and true. And there was a sort of a joke going around with Metropolitan Amphilochius that the way he would bless seminarians is like, Your Eminence, please bless, the servant of God is being ordained, and so on. So
go straight to ordination.
Yeah. So a lot of people were using this opportunity to get ordained because Patriarch Paul was sort of slow to ordain, similar to his successor. But Metropolitan Amphilochius, I know a guy who simply got ordained because he approached Metropolitan Amphilochius and he said, Your Eminence, I'm a deacon. I want to become a priest. You want to become a priest, eh? Okay, give us a homily on today's gospel. And he gives a homily there and then. And he's like, okay, come to liturgy tomorrow and I will ordain you. That's it. Yeah. So
different styles, huh?
Yeah. Sort of something that you would like read in the life of a saint or something.
Right.
So I was attending a chapel. I was attending the chapel of St. John Chrysostom in Serbian, in Belgrade's campus city, and the priest there asked me, hey, Metropolitan will come on Sunday. Do you want to become a reader? Sure. What's a reader? I think that until that point, I didn't know that there was an actual rank of people who actually read the epistles. I simply thought that it was delegated based on who knows how to read well and, has sort of a singy voice. So I started reading on the actual rank, and their job was to read, to teach, to read people the scriptures, because everybody was illiterate. And I'm like, okay, so that's not me. Everybody's literate. It was their task to keep liturgical books. Okay, they're kept. What can I do with like 10 books? I can't. So I was like, okay, this only gets me a pretty robe, but not even that, because again, you would wear it as an altar server. So I was trying to find a way to somehow leave that rank, and I was like, maybe I could do something to popularize the scripture reading among the Orthodox, because I think that thank God that we have saints in their writings, but sometimes I do have a feeling that people tend to read these more than the scripture.
Sure.
And we can talk on end what are pros and cons and so on and so forth. I think that people find, for example, the reading of the lives of saints more accessible, and you can be a perfectly valid Christian just with that, But still, I think that you also need to know your scripture. So I started actually drawing it because I actually got an idea. A friend of mine asked me to draw a certain verse, which was where your heart is, there your treasure. Where your heart is, there your treasure will be also. That's the first verse I did, and then I simply had a thought. Well, let's illustrate the whole thing, and 10 years later, and 12 whole chapters complete. It's going slow.
Say it again. 10 years later, and what chapters complete? And 12 chapters?
12 chapters, because it's going slow. Sometimes I can fit a lot of verses within one single drawing. Sometimes it's only half a verse, or even less. And a lot of drawings are all over the place. I think that approximately I have like, I don't know, 50 complete if I would have assembled them, but because there's maybe like 5 drawings in this chapter, 2 there, or 20 there, but it's still not complete. But I hope to finish it eventually.
Yeah, that's a lifelong project, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, or maybe even a multiple life one.
Right. Well, I mean, the best projects seem to be ones that will span multiple generations, right? Like the temple and whatnot.
Yeah, true. But there was an additional issue that I did not anticipate because I was practically forced to draw a lot, and drawing a lot is the best way to improve your drawing. So after like 5 years, I really started to hate my old drawings, and I started redoing some of the old ones.
Oh no!
Yeah. So a lot of time went there too, because when I started out, these drawings were really minimalistic, oftentimes without any background. Like, for example, you would simply have Adam and Eve holding hands, and they were badly drawn, Adam and Eve, but without any, backdrop, which is a shame because there's like a whole heavenly garden behind them. Right. So why not draw a background?
Yeah.
But I thought you had said at one point that you enjoyed being able to produce content that was varied in quality, in the sense of like sometimes a video will be good, other times it's not as polished, and then you just kind of leave it all up just to show the sort of inherent human condition, the imperfection or whatnot.
Well, that is true, but that is different. That is for YouTube videos, and
this is more,
yeah. While most people know me for the YouTube channel, I still keep saying that YouTube channel is a side project to the biblical drawings, because there's, I think, only one video I ever wanted to do again, and that is life of an Orthodox Christian, because again, while it is, I think, my second most popular video on the channel, it is the one that might get people interested in Orthodoxy, and I think it deserves better illustrations. I'm simply flabbergasted how well it has done, but I think it deserves better, better drawings and everything, and I hope to finish it sometime during this year, God willing. But that's the only one. Other ones, of course, there are a lot of mistakes, there are a lot of regrets. There are some mistakes in the Dollhouse video. There are some mistakes in the calendar video, and but these are all like little things that do not necessitate, I think, an overhaul. So,
yeah.
So when did you start the YouTube channel?
On August 25th, 2017. Okay. Yes, I know the date.
Yeah, I remember when I first discovered you. I think it was a video about. Yeah, it was a video you were. It was when I think it was when gay marriage was passed in the United States, and my, not to inflate your ego, but my father, we were playing it, we were watching it, and he goes, "Oh, he must be a theologian. Like he really, he really liked it." And then I asked you, "Are you a theologian?" Like, no. So,
no, I
you don't
finished.
have to be, though, to have good insight. you know.
Well, I simply liked reading a lot of, I want to say theology books, but that can mean a lot of things. But church books, whether it's small books, big books, books of saints, by saints, on saints, lives of saints, and so on. So, like after doing that for over a decade, you learn some things. But again, I still think that the best description of a theologian is someone who prays. And I think that is what we all know, those elderly grannies who maybe do not have their polished knowledge, right. But man, they do get some whispers from beyond that we are not privy to.
Yeah. No,
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is in Athens, Georgia, not Athens, Greece. There is. I went there because my spiritual father, my confessor, he's the priest there, Father Anthony Salzman. He wanted me to do this project of his, help him with this project of getting interviews with parishioners, and he would post them online, and basically why be Orthodox. And there was the sweetest, nicest, I don't know, she almost started crying, talking about how they light candles on Sunday. I mean, it was so nice. You you really got, I mean, she wasn't an intellectual, she isn't, I'm assuming she's alive. She was a beautiful person. Anyway.
Yeah. But that's precisely what I'm talking. Like, for example, you would expect this homily or something, but then you hear something so beautiful and profound over something that we would call basic, and then you're like, you start to understand that maybe you do not understand even the basic stuff, So the mind's there, but the heart, which we referenced previously, is not all there, or maybe not even at all.
Yeah, and I think, it's all about it not becoming an ideology.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah, I remember the Father Athanasius Simonobetra. Actually, Bojan this is all over the place, but you talked recently in your podcast about who wrote the Troparion for Jeftic.
Yeah.
Well, him.
Oh wow, nice.
I met him on Mount Athos, but I watched the video of his, and he like a lecture he gave, and this communist, this head of the Communist Party in Greece, communist in quotes, of course, because a Greek communist is a churchgoer. But anyway,
well, thank God for that,
Well, absolutely, no one's complaining. So, he went to Mount Athos and he said, I'm amazed by what I found up here. He said, what do you mean? He goes, well, I expected to find a bunch of old men, who can't, go to the toilet on their own. And I found, palikaria. I found, gallant young men.
Strong,
Right, young, strong men. And you are great ideologues. And he goes, we're not ideologues. He started explaining to him.
Yeah.
I think that's the very interesting thing, because a person who whether it's by choice or by the way they grew up, they assume that an ideology is the path of life. That thoughts are what, actually I was explaining this last night to somebody, that essentially ideas become the deity. And the deity can be formed in any which way your mind perceives it, and all this, and it keeps changing over time, because ideas change, and but the church doesn't change. I mean, very little, But so it's been something I've had on my mind lately, a lot,
I think that that danger of ideology is exceedingly great, especially with Christianity, because it can change to ideology so quick, and there are so many streams out there, and sometimes it is difficult to, for example, in traditionally Orthodox countries, pious Orthodox folk, for them, it is very easy to differentiate between like regular church people than traditionally minded people who do not attend church but like celebrate some big events in the church, and then people who are like posers, fakes, who cover themselves with all sorts of prayer ropes and icons and cover themselves with Orthodox tattoos, and you, for example, see somebody in the West who converts and he has all of these faulty notions of how it is in the traditional country, and then the traditional country is just a country, there are basically there's more Orthodox churches, but in the end it all comes to the heart, and how much we let Christ transfigure us, and it is such a elusive thing. It is simply mind-boggling. We cannot envelop it with our mind at all, and I think that the sooner we realize that God isn't a force, and this is what atheists complain about Christianity all the. Well, I prayed and he didn't hear my prayer. Did he have to listen to your prayer? I mean, that is precisely the thing. And I think that when it comes to like apology and apologetics, I think that it would be a good thing if this is something that is should be emphasized, that God is a person, that is three persons, but that he's not bound to listen to anyone, and that he knows best how and when or in what way to hear a prayer. I told one atheist, like, listen, simply tell God to reveal himself to you, and he said, well, I did, and he did not reveal himself to me. And I'm like, yeah, but maybe did it occur to you that maybe right now or right here or whatever isn't the proper time or place or method? I mean, I always like to say Jews kept seeing all those miracles in the desert, and then they ditched it all for a golden calf. The first opportunity, they were like, Moses is taking too long. Yeah.
So this is all very interesting, and I think I want to try to put some things together into a question, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So we're talking about the mind and the relationship between the mind and the heart. We're talking about apologetics and presenting the faith in a certain way. We're talking about atheists and their kind of ideological or intellectualizing of orthodoxy. Mm-hmm. And we're also talking about you, Bojan, and your Bible Illustrated project.
Yeah.
And what interests me is you said, you sort of had this thought or this idea that Orthodox, by and large, especially modern day Orthodox maybe, are not as keen on reading scripture directly, that they kind of go to the lives of the saints or the writings of the fathers or whatnot. And as a way of sort of bringing the Bible to them in an accessible way or something like that, you had this idea of illustrating it, and like, as you said, like line by line, these kind of images that describe the words and the lines. And so I'm interested in that impulse because and this kind of gets at this question that we were talking about a little bit before we got on, which is sort of clothing without replacing the traditional methods of conveying the gospel through scripture, through iconography, through all these kind of central means, you could say, without replacing those by any means. This impulse to try to sort of clothe it in unfamiliar garments, especially to an audience that is kind of overly familiar with certain ways of expressing things,
Mm-hmm.
Is that in line with what you were trying to do? Kind of trying to kind of express these like very central and important truths that have become a little either too distant or too familiar and therefore distant. Do you know what I mean?
My concern isn't about too much familiarity, even
right. You're
though,
saying that people don't even know anything.
I think that again, my late spiritual father, Father Dimitri Cosby, he used to have this saying, which I do not think it was by him, but he liked to quote it often. Good people do not need to be taught; they need to be reminded, which is a great thing. And this is basically the reason why we read the gospel, read the Bible over and over again, the Gospels and the epistles, and ultimately why we receive the sacraments over and over again. I'm pretty sure that one communion is completely enough to get us completely saved. But we are no angels. We fall, we lose the grace.
As you said.
Yeah. We fall, we stand up. We fall, we stand up. Then we fall to our neck. Then we stand to the pinnacle. And it's it really depends on where we end. But
yeah.
I think that there's a huge danger for future generations that. This is something that we already have, but I think it will get progressively worse. That we're slowly getting into what I like to call the Twitter generation, where the attention span is so ridiculously low that people basically won't be able to dedicate their attention for longer time to anything. And you can see, especially this with children, because children, when majority of us were little, we were forced to invent our own games, our own pastimes. Now you simply have everything in the phone. You simply give a smartphone to a kid, and it will watch Coco Melon or some other channel or something, and it's entertained and it's great. Mom has now enough time to clean, to cook or something. It's like, it's God sent, except it's not really sent by God.
Sure.
But we can debate on that.
Sure.
But I thought that it would be a great danger for future generations that they will look at this hulking book that, at least as far as Gospels are concerned, starts off very problematically. He gave birth to him, and he gave, and the names are getting progressively, wackier as they go, and I can imagine people like, what's this, Yeah. So I started that is why I essentially started doing the drawings, that maybe some drawing will get them interested, and maybe a series of drawing will get them interested. The idea, sadly, isn't all that original, because we have the Brick Testament, which is this guy making Lego scenes based on individual verses, and these range from humorous to completely blasphemous. His interpretations by Legos. I did not get the idea from there, but there was somebody else out there doing something similar to me, but clearly with not the best interests of anyone in mind, but simply to
have a good time.
Have a good time at best, or mock the religion at worst. So yeah.
Yeah. So there was a perception about kind of the impact that the advancement in certain technologies was having on the younger generation.
Yeah.
That the attention span was decreasing, and that there would be kind of an increased gap between this seemingly arcane
Yeah.
sacred text and their experience. And so you sort of your project is kind of an attempt to bridge the gap as best as possible.
By the way, that was my initial reasoning. I have no idea how right I am in any of these actual claims. Whether it will help somebody, whether this attention span will reduce, that I do not know. Over time, it is simply something that I do. I think it is time well spent. So
sure, but I think that the question of attention is interesting, because I think sometimes we think of attention on the level of the will. You know, if I just force myself to pay attention, you know, then it'll be okay. But I think, you know, it seems like attention is more of a function of desire than anything else.
Precisely.
And so, you know, the thing with smartphones is that they automatically bypass our kind of rational cognitive processing and go straight to our desiring faculty.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're already kind of captive. Our desire is already captive, you could say.
We can't do anything without being entertained.
Yeah.
We have to be entertained at every moment of the day.
Precisely.
But I don't think there's something in, I don't think, so this is where I'm doing my dissertation on St. John Chrysostom, and this question of pain and pleasure comes up in the sense of, you know, is pleasure inherently wrong? And I think he makes the claim that actually it's part of our being created is the desire to experience pleasure. It's just a question of what sort of pleasure, and if it's going to be short-term pleasure that leads to pain, or long-term pleasure that needs a little pain to get there, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's important, because I'm reading this other book called Identity and Experience in the New Testament by this guy named Klaus Berger.
Okay.
And he talks about the commandment, the Christ drawing on Leviticus, the commandment of loving God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And the idea of loving your neighbor as yourself. And Chrysostom actually talks about this, that, you know, many of us growing up in the kind of post-Kantian world, the philosopher Immanuel Kant, that we have this notion that true love is the denial of ourselves and ultimately self-sacrifice. But what this particular New Testament scholar is saying, and actually Chrysostom agrees with him, maybe he got it from Chrysostom, I don't know, is that the impulse for self-love is actually a natural human impulse. In other words, to preserve my life, to you know, the first thing we do when we come out of the womb is to go for our mother's milk. You know, it's like, you know, we have this desire for pleasure, for not only physical sustenance, but we also know that that impulse is not just for physical sustenance, it's also for pacification and for comfort. So you know, so what he's saying is the love your neighbor as yourself, especially as it was expressed in the Old Testament, was an identification of the natural self impulse to take care of yourself, but then saying, don't just remain with yourself, do the same thing you do for yourself for your neighbor.
True. And this is something profound, because, you know, I don't know how the proverb goes. I think that even when Chrysostom quotes it, something along the lines of grief shared is a grief halved, and the joy shared is joy doubled. And I think that I think that all of us can relate to that. That even in my darkest moments, at least I'm so lucky that I can count on my family and friends. Some people sadly are not in that position, whether they cannot count on their friends or they cannot count on their families, or God forbid on neither.
Sure.
But I think that there's also one aspect of this pleasure worship of today is not only that we are so addicted to pleasure, but that it is maliciously manipulated. You have mentioned the phone notifications, and while I do believe that initially it was there purely for informative purposes, and for example, I know that Facebook like button was put there simply so it would, so people wouldn't write comments like "Wow, great! Wow, great! Wow, great!" So it was simply put there to cut short on the redundant comments. Somewhere along the way, they realized that this is addictive and it can be weaponized and
monetized.
And especially monetized. What St. Paul said, love of money is the root of all evil. And boy, does that show today. I mean, it was always true, but especially today.
Sure.
I think that healthy mind is under such an assault today even with food, like there's so much sugar in it, like the most basic stuff, and like if you boil your own food, especially, I think that this is especially true during fasting season, that maybe we should nudge our fasting habits, a little further by trying to live on something that we have ourselves have made, and maybe even grown if we are in such a position, because the powers that be do play on our weak side, on our addiction for purely monetary gain.
Maybe how you could characterize this whole thing, and you can tell me if you agree, both of you agree, is Strati, when we first started this podcast, some of the first conversations were on desire. One of them was on desire, and the other one was on, and they were also on culture. If you remember, we brought your father in, and we talked about Orthodox culture and things like that. And I'm sort of coming to the conclusion that our culture, if you want to characterize it as that, or our civilization, both, today are at the point where, I think we have to. I think the church has I don't want to say obligation, because I don't like putting that kind of language on the church, but I think the church has a role, or you could say I think there's a yearning for the church to be the kingdom, the beginning of the kingdom here on earth. And what that means is not only, the place where we come for worship, though that is central, that's the top of the pyramid, you could say, but also there's room for, on the lower levels, for the church to influence the rest of society, and to in combining the worship of the church with all of the other facets of life, whether you're talking about the growing and the growing of your own food, or
it was like that.
All those different kinds of things that it needs to kind of, there needs to be this creation of a renewed or new culture, civilization, right. I guess.
Well, that takes down another avenue, but I mean, that's what it was like. I mean, like they didn't do grapes until the Transfiguration feast, or right. There was the cycles of the church revolved around every facet of life.
The thing is I think in our modern times we've kind of divorced the church from because it's been in survival mode in many respects for the last 500 years.
Like, for instance, one thing that we never really, well, at least those of us who never had to kill their own food, you know,
I kill some cockroaches once in a while.
Well, I don't know.
You eat cockroaches?
Why not?
I'm gonna have to cut this out anyway. So
ants, cockroaches,
okay.
mice, rats.
Let
Anyway.
me finish. Okay. No, but in all seriousness, you know, the period of 40 days wasn't just about not eating meat, but it was also about not killing anything.
Right.
Right. They wouldn't kill the food.
It was all connected to that.
It was all connected. It wasn't just
ecosystem.
I don't go to the McDonald's for hamburgers now for 40, 50 days, but now I don't have to do anything that they wouldn't have done in the garden.
Yep. Yep.
You know, we're trying to go back to the garden.
Right.
You know, and so when you start like looking a little more deep under the surface, you start to realize, oh wait, we're missing. Wow,
it's a whole way of life.
There's a whole building right underneath us we didn't even realize was there.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
That is so true. But I don't know. I think that the Orthodox concept of fasting has the key to so many modern issues. I also think that in the West, it is sort of modern to take, to deprive yourself or of something that you love during the Lent. And I think that if we went through all of the things that people deny themselves, we will find a lot of common things. And I think that like sweets, smoking, and social media are always on the top spot. And I have this sort of like little app that informs me when somebody unfriends me on Facebook.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, but I simply like to be informed. But what I find it amazing about it, because I have like, I know 1,000 people on my Facebook friend list. At the beginning of every Catholic Lent and Orthodox Great Lent, I think I lose around 100 people because everybody's deactivating their profiles.
That's funny.
And I think it is a great thing because, but as regards to those things, it would be amazing if we could keep going on. Maybe not without totally social media, but at least trying to not let it rule our lives. But
you know, I used to find that silly personally. Oh, I'm giving up chocolate, but no, I think there is a place for it. You know.
Yeah.
What I like about that concept, which is sort of, I think, you know, a typical Orthodox may simply be content with simply practicing Orthodox fasting rules, and he or she would simply abstain from meat and cheese and dairy, but like spend the entire time on the phone. Whereas Catholic Lent would not be so heavy or at all as regards to food, but they would at least try to remove a big stumbling block from their life. And I think that the combination of these two would be pretty amazing. But then again, if you do not feel that...
It depends on the person, I think.
Oh, of course. And that is one of the good sides to the Catholic approach, because it is sort of custom made to every person involved. But if you do not feel that void, and this is what I find amazing about Orthodox Lent, is that constant emphasis and overemphasis of prayer. Because if you do not feel that time that you have freed up by ditching Instagram or what have you not, you're simply, you know, bouncing in spot. You're not doing anything. You're like in a rocking chair. You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere.
It almost becomes more of a, you know, essentially a secular self-bettering of yourself.
Precisely.
You know,
it's not a
spiritual.
Yeah. Again, I don't want to bash Catholics. I know that they have a plethora of options to fill up their prayer life, and I do not know how much that specific part is emphasized there. But I know Orthodoxy, and boy, is it important. And you know, I keep going back to it, but man, prayer rope is such an amazing tool. And I'm pretty sure that eventually it would have developed in all possible worlds, because it is so. I mean, if you think about it, the prayer rope is basically the smartphone before the phone, before the smartphone. It keeps you constantly in touch with God, and it's simply an amazing thing.
Beautiful.
I am, thank you.
Yeah.
But there's that. I keep thinking of this story every so often about this desert father who lived quite a distance from a spring of water, and he would go to fetch the spring water, and he would go back to his hut, and over and over and over, and he was simply annoyed. And one time he was going to the spring, and he thought to himself, you know what, I'm going to leave that old hut of mine and simply build it much closer to the spring. And then as he was going back to his hut, he saw this man walking with a bowed head, and he was like, who are you and what are you doing? And he said, I'm your guardian angel, and I'm counting your steps. And then the desert father tore down his hut and built it much further from the spring.
That's funny.
I mean, even most basic thing of getting water can be a blessed endeavor, and we have it like 10 steps from where we're sitting.
You're so right. And I was actually, it's funny because I was thinking about this exact thing today when I was trying to go buy something from the store, and on the way I couldn't find my mask, and I had to go to 3 of the kiosks to finally find one kiosk that hadn't sold masks, so that I could go to the store whose card reader broke down. I left. I went all the way back home. On the way back home, I found my mask on the floor. I went back up. I got the other credit card. I went all the way down. I went back to the store, found 5 people in line with full baskets, and I thought, I could utilize this and not get angry. And I did not get angry. I managed to keep my calm, and I believe I'm better off for it.
Oh, of course. But that reminded me of a different story, and I think this one's Russian. This monk wanted to buy some fish during some fasting season where I think that at least for the monks, fish was absolutely not allowed. Basically, he was falling into a sin. And he left the monastery. He was really intent on getting that fish. And then as he was approaching the market, he thought to himself, did I bring my prayer rope? What will people say if they see a monastic without a prayer? So he starts fumbling through his pockets, and he finds the prayer rope. And as he's approaching the market, the horses that were pulling a carriage, they go full berserk, and they rush past him. Like if he was a step in the front, he would simply get crushed. So he gets his fish, he eats it, he goes to bed, and he's woken by his angel. And he says, by the way, I just want to let you know that you did a sin and you were supposed to die, but I gave you that good thought for you to go through your pockets for the prayer rope on the count of many prayers you have offered for others. So, maybe Strati, you survived because going through your pockets for that mask. That is also what I tell to myself, whenever some of my plan crumbles, it's something like, maybe I survived because of this.
Maybe we'll never know because I'm here.
We'll never, I think that after the last judgment, I'm sort of sketchy in the meantime, but after the judgment, there will be a lot of what would have been for the first year or so.
Right. Very good. Well, I know it's late for you guys, so I don't want to keep you up too much longer, but it's been a good conversation for sure.
Thank you, Father.
And it's good to hear a little bit about your life work, Bojan, and a little bit behind the scenes of all the amazing work that you do.
Oh, thank you, Father. You too. Well, you'll get to talk about TrisagionFilms eventually.
We talk about
the TrisagionFilms on.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's been referenced for sure, but it hasn't been a specific topic.
I've been a topic, so close enough.
You have been a topic.
I have been for like 3
a few topics, yeah.
Oh, wow, the controversial life of Strati.
Let me tell you, it's a riot. Well, all right. We can do this again some other time as well.
Sure thing.
It's been great. I really enjoy it.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.